Wedding venues are absolute pros at planning. I mean, they've got the decor, the food, the music, all of it down to a science. But today, we're going to talk about one little detail that often gets missed. It's a piece of the safety puzzle that, honestly, could make all the difference when things go sideways. So I want to start by asking a really direct question, especially if you're a venue owner. Let's just imagine an alarm went off this very second. You have to get everyone out. Could you, with 100% certainty, tell me that you know where every single person is and that they're safe? And, well, here's the tough part. If we're all being really honest with ourselves, the answer for most venues is probably no. And look, you're not alone in that, but that doesn't make it any less of a serious risk. This really gets us to a huge blind spot in the events industry. It's what I call the unasked question. It's this gap in planning that leaves venues, staff, and most importantly, your guests totally exposed when a critical moment hits. So why is the answer so often no? Well, it's because this is what we're all relying on. A printed list the couple handed you weeks ago, a coordinator doing a rough guess, or just relying on what a few staff members can remember. Let's be real. These aren't systems, they're just habits, and in a real emergency, they are completely and utterly unreliable. All of this creates what is basically an illusion of safety. It feels like you're prepared, but you're not. So let's really break down why these old school methods, especially that printed guest list, just completely fall apart when you need them the most. Okay, this right here is the fundamental problem. A printed list shows you who was invited. It's a plan, right? It's not a real-time record. It has absolutely no idea who actually showed up, who decided to leave early to beat traffic, or who brought a plus one that wasn't on the original list. The second the first guest walks in, that piece of paper is already out of date. And look, we're not talking about some crazy, once-in-a-lifetime disaster. We're talking about things that can and do happen. A small fire in the kitchen, a freak thunderstorm that means you have to move everyone inside, or even just a power outage at night. In any of these scenarios, chaos kicks in real fast, and knowing exactly who you're responsible for is step one to getting back control. And just think about the sheer scale of this. You're not looking after a dozen people. For an average wedding, you have a duty of care, a responsibility for somewhere between 150 and 200 people. That is a massive number of lives to leave to pure guesswork. So here's the bottom line for your business. This isn't just about doing the right thing. It's about protecting your venue. If something happens and you can't prove who was on your property and that everyone got out safely, you are opening yourself up to huge liability and the kind of damage to your reputation that you just can't recover from. What this all calls for is a really big shift in how we think. It's about moving away from just hoping everything will be fine and moving towards building professional, solid systems. It means we have to stop making a very common and very dangerous assumption. This quote, "This is the thought that gets so many businesses into deep trouble. Nothing will happen." And you know what? 99% of the time, that's probably true. But professionals, they don't build their entire safety plan on that risky 1% chance. Because that's the real difference, isn't it? Amateurs hope for the best. Professionals plan for the worst. They don't rely on luck. They rely on systems that are designed to work every single time, no matter what's going on. Okay, so what does a real professional system actually look like? Let's switch gears and talk about the solution, the modern standard for keeping track of guests. And it's probably a lot simpler and more effective than you think. It's really just a simple digital process. It all starts when guests RSVP online, which means you capture their info correctly right from the get-go. That information then creates a live, constantly updated list that your key staff can pull up on a phone or a tablet in seconds. No paper, no guesswork, just facts. The key idea here is live accurate data. That's the whole game. This is what turns guest management from a huge liability, a massive blind spot, into a totally controlled, professional part of your everyday operation. And the benefits? They're just crystal clear. First and foremost, you're making your guests safer. Period. You're protecting your venue from legal trouble. You're making your staff way more efficient and capable in a crisis. And maybe biggest of all, you're cementing your reputation as a top-tier professional operation that truly thinks of everything. So what we're really talking about here is creating a smarter celebration. This isn't some optional add-on or a luxury feature. This is about making this level of safety the new fundamental standard of care for every single event you host.
Let me just put it as plainly as I can. The fact that most venues can't account for everyone in an emergency has somehow become normal in the industry. But it shouldn't be. This is a problem we can solve. And honestly, ignoring it just isn't an option anymore.
And so that brings us to the one question I want to leave you with. When you really look at how your venue operates, is your safety plan built on hope or is it built on a system? Because the answer to that question really defines the standard of your business.